so let me see if I can turn this stuff on. All right, I turned it on. So what's going on?
Same old.
You didn't have to work today. I went by like 2 days ago, and I think her name was Christine was there,
Yeah.
and she said you
I
weren't.
was supposed to work today, but then Sean didn't come in, so or couldn't come in, so he called me and told me.
Yeah, she said like you weren't supposed to work at the member place until Friday or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been looking at a bunch of different websites and stuff trying to get like information for this. Uh,
Yeah, me too. Me too. I like watched some YouTube videos. I looked up like about how Ponzi schemes work and the like I found this other one. The crazy thing is that people went from like lost everything on BitConnect and immediately went into this other Ponzi scheme called like Davor or Davor.
I saw something about that on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's craziness. I saw one guy's video and it was like just this guy, it said like real estate teacher or something like that. And it was just this like old guy in a car and he
Yeah, he
was
said that to me. Oh man, I don't know those people. Like I don't know how they were tricked so easily, and I don't know what they're doing now. Like put everything into it.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to like dance on people's grave and say I
Yeah,
told you so and
yeah,
all that. That's not really the point of everything. But the point is really like, what can we learn from all of this? Because
yeah,
it seems that Bitcoin has it's been like a truly grassroots type thing in that people initially sort of heard about it from their other friends at like the water cooler or whatever like passes for the
yeah. You're
water
right.
cooler. I mean, think of the two guys that we know that got really into it. I mean, they both it was like this like kind of underground cool thing like you turn your buddies onto it like, hey man,
Yeah,
if you got a couple extra $100, you should really do this.
yeah.
And
You should put your money into this. You should put your money into that. Which it's kind of like how a lot of like multi-level marketing pyramid schemes kind of work. Is that your friend says come to this meeting with me. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's like so ripe for scamming.
yeah, it's like when when you watch like American Greed, a lot of those things start at like someone's church or social group.
Yeah,
Well, for us, our buddies, I think it started with work, and they turn each other onto it. And the thing is like there was a pretty long period of time where these things they all just went straight up.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so
November and December, it was just like a rocket ship, and like everybody was thinking that this was uh this was going to continue forever.
yeah, so I pulled up the Wikipedia on BitConnect, and so I want to just read that quickly because that's kind of what prompted me to like have you come on and stuff.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
is this
Give me
particular
one
thing?
second. My dog's
Yeah,
wanting to go out.
yeah. Take your time.
Come right back. Would you what does Wikipedia say about it?
Okay, so here it says for BitConnect, which is what we're talking about right now. Uh, BitConnect is actually a lending platform where you take your Bitcoins and you loan them to this company, and they're gonna borrow your Bitcoins and they're gonna give them back to you after a certain period of time plus uh, an additional amount of money. So it says BitConnect is an open source Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. It has described itself as a high yield investment program. This site has also been offering advertising an initial coin offering for BitConnect X, which we'll talk about in a little while. Uh, BitConnect has been accused by critics as a Ponzi scheme because of its multi-level marketing structure. BitConnect coin was among the world's top 20 most successful cryptocurrency tokens until its price plunged 65% starting January 3rd, 2018. Shortly after, on January 16th, it announced it would shut down its cryptocurrency exchange and lending operation after regulators from Texas and North Carolina issued a cease and desist order against it. So that was on the 16th, and now we're on the
Yeah.
25th.
And there's basically like no other news about what happened. What Where'd the money go
So
since then?
so essentially, you would take your Bitcoin and you would give it to them, and they set you up with an account, and then they
Yeah.
would make you you'd have to deposit it for a certain minimum amount of time, right?
Yeah.
What were the minimums around?
It was like half a year, uh year and a half. So if you did like the half a year and you got out before this whole thing, then you were set. But the weird thing is that I saw is that they gave you so you gave them Bitcoin, and then at the end of the time they gave you US dollars. So they kept Bitcoin, but they gave you your initial investment back in the US dollars, and they paid you out in this Bitcoin or BitConnect coin, and which was only worth something because it was on their exchange, and you could redeem it for other things on their exchange. So now that their exchange is gone, it lost most of its value.
So unlike a lot of other cryptocurrencies, you could only redeem it on their actual exchange.
Yeah.
Um, so what were they doing? Like, they borrowed your bitcoins and then they were making money somehow with them, and then they would give it back to you. How are they saying they were making money with your bitcoins?
So it was like the kind of typical Ponzi scheme thing where they said that they had like a trading software that would predict the volatility of the market, and they would advertise that this trading software would return like 1 to 2% a day, and they'd give you half and they'd keep half, and like the software was going to like guarantee at least 1% a day.
So that sounds shady right off the top.
Yeah.
And I had a couple friends that were actually doing this. But I mean, I guess the question you would ask yourself at the beginning is, if they came up with this trading software that was able to make tons of money with Bitcoin,
Yeah.
why would they need your money? Wouldn't they just get some venture capitalist to give them like $500 million
Yeah.
and keep
Yeah.
their own profits? I mean, so why do they need you involved?
That's what that's like my question with a lot of these. Like a lot of them seem like the ICOs and a lot of the coins. Like a lot of them seem like very good business ideas. Like they connect, especially the business to business things that are um uh like software that are like bridge gaps between certain business softwares and like supply chain and um like business relations. Like it seems like a very good idea, and I don't know why you just wouldn't have a VC sponsor it and make a normal business rather than like a coin,
What do you mean by VC?
a venture capitalist.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so the basic concept with all of these is it's just another way of transacting like money. So you have credit cards, you have checks, you have like
Yeah.
PayPal. This is just another thing like that, the
Mhm.
blockchain. Um, and it's been explained to me that blockchain works that there's something that's called like a ledger, which keeps track of every transaction in the chain of transactions. And so, um, and this is decentralized, so like one bank can't shut it down. So every time, and you hear about mining, and mining is actually computers calculating the ledger and sort of
Yeah.
replicating it. So
Hmm.
it's sort of decentralized. Um, but I don't understand really where the value of like Bitcoin going way up so sky high comes from. Like,
Yeah, me neither.
Like, why do people buy it, and why
Yeah,
does it have such that value? It's just very confusing to me.
yeah,
So you've dabbled a little bit in cryptocurrencies, correct?
yeah.
Um, and was Bitcoin the first one that you got involved with?
The first one was actually Ethereum. I bought a little. I bought one Ethereum, and then I bought like a little Bitcoin, and then I switched the Bitcoin over to Ethereum. So my first like was two Ethereum, and then from there I put a little money here, a little money there. But the initial, it was in maybe early November when I first bought in, and like I had Bitcoin for a short time, and then I switched to Ethereum, and then I got on another crypto website or trading website called Binance, and from there I spread it out between a few different coins.
So there are exchanges where you can like change US dollars into Bitcoin. I guess the biggest one I know about is Coinbase. That seems to be the most
Yeah,
popular
that's
one.
the one I use. The first time I bought it was in the app, like the Coinbase app, which apparently has a lot more fees than other exchanges. But because they're so big and they're so easy, you just write on your phone, like it's as easy as doing that, and you've bought cryptocurrency. But to like have access to more types and the like different coins. Um, Coinbase only has now four different types of coins that they trade, whereas others have hundreds.
Now, they talk about cryptocurrency being a way that you can sort of hide your activities. Like people use it on like this would use it on like the Silk Road when the Silk Road still existed to buy drugs or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Doesn't that sort of defeat the purpose of it if it's if you have to put your money like with a credit card on like a U.S. website and create that paper trail?
yeah. You definitely have a paper trail. I can see how it would be a good way of laundering money, especially because you could just claim um, like illegally gotten gains as cryptocurrency returns. And you know, I think with the tax code now, you're supposed to um, report each trade individually, um, but I don't know who's like. I don't think a lot of people are doing that. So I think it would be a good way to like to launder money. I think that would be its main illegal activity purpose right now is claiming cryptocurrency returns for illegally gotten money.
Well, I know it's had a big, like we said before, a grassroots movement, but it's also it's produced some YouTube superstars, and
Yeah, it's true.
and we didn't really talk about with BitConnect the fact that it has a multi-level marketing structure. By that I mean that like if you leave a link, if you make a YouTube video and you leave a link on there that says sign up through BitConnect through me, then if people sign up through you, you get a percentage of the money they put in. So
Yeah,
I don't really know how it was structured. I think it was like the first three people you sign up, you get 5% of their money. And then if they sign up people, you get 3% of those people's money, and so on down the
mhm,
line. And so some of these YouTube stars who have millions of people were able to sign up tons and tons of people to BitConnect. So then when it becomes called a Ponzi scheme and people start threatening lawsuits, these guys get cold feet. So there's a guy, I think his name is Ryan Hildreth, and
mhm,
he was showing how he had, I think, 93 people below him who had signed up through him. So he was getting a piece of 93 other people. Uh,
mm, mm.
and these guys got really scared, I think, because all of a sudden the government was saying this is a Ponzi scheme and it shut down, and all these people are upset. And where did the money go?
Yeah, yeah. But those people got money because they got their from their downline. So they may have. originally only put in a small amount, but their downline put in quite a bit more. So that's how they were making money.
So you mean that a lot of their money they were making was from commissions from other people putting stuff in?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Uh,
I really wonder if, I've always wondered if, I mean, some of the big names we're talking about here are Crypto Nick, who is like a high school kid who apparently made over
yeah,
$1 million.
yeah.
Uh,
He's got a real future ahead of him. He's like I found out today that he's only 17 years old, and man, that kid can scam. Just like a the quite a talent for scamming. I don't know what his future is going to be, but it's going to be interesting.
well, we find a lot of times in the trading world that these guys who make a name for themselves as teachers end up making money teaching, and
Yeah,
those who can't trade well end up teaching other people's to trade.
yeah,
It's like the umpires in Major League Baseball or something,
yeah. He
And
he had a. I know Crypto Nick had a like a crypto trading course too, and but it wasn't really anything that you couldn't find uh readily available on YouTube, or there wasn't really anything helpful. It was mostly like life advice and um kind of like building a cult following for himself, hyping himself up.
I wonder if they really he must have really made. I mean, I actually I do believe that he made money, and
Yeah.
these guys seem to have diversified enough that he was saying he had like $160,000 in cash in BitConnect, but
Hmm.
they seem to be diversified enough that that they're going to make it through this okay. Um,
Yeah.
and if they put
Well, from his commissions, I know he from his commissions he made hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that was deposited to his bank account, not not in like Bitcoin or BitConnect coins, just cash.
well, I remember when was it in May or June? Esteban was always bugging me, like, oh, you
Yeah.
got to buy some cryptocurrencies, and then I guess he convinced Johnny to get on board. So Johnny bought, I think he bought like 5 or 6 Litecoins for like $50 each or something like that,
Yeah.
and then I think Esteban and I were talking about it, and we're like, oh, should we split one and blah blah blah, and I didn't end up doing it, and I've been kicking myself because Bitcoin was around 3,000 then when he bought it, and I think Luciano also bought one,
Yeah.
and and they it was interesting to watch like two of our friends become what are true believers. I would say they are like true believers. Uh,
Yeah.
there was no talking them out of selling a little bit when it doubled or tripled. They
Yeah.
it's a really fascinating dynamic for me because people have this idea that's in their head, and I felt before as a trader, I felt like the feeling of hitting a home run.
Yeah.
I had a stock. It was called AirTouch. I was long 4,500, and it got taken over, and I made some money. And
Mhm.
sometimes when something works for you, then you irrationally hold on to that for next time in the back of your mind, and
Yeah.
you can tell that all these people online, they are true believers of the fact that being long this stuff will win in the end.
Yeah.
They have this in their mind that someone's going to come and try to talk them out of being long this stuff, but if they can just persevere and hold on, that they're going to win in the end. And
Yeah.
the people who will go on to really be successful in life are those who will be able to somehow make the adjustment to at least say to themselves, at some point, this is not going to be a long anymore. It's going to be, the conditions are going to change
Hmm.
because it seems like you can't even say anything negative. I almost don't
Yeah.
even want to do this video because you say anything negative and the true believers pile on all over you.
Yeah.
Now you came up with a couple words that are like jargon for the industry.
Yes. Yeah.
You want to?
The one of the most popular ones, like you were talking about, how people are long on this, is the hodl. and that if you just, through the tough times, if you just hold or hodl, that you'll be fine. And so far it's worked. And that's worked very well for a lot of people. Like when a lot of, uh even initial investors have said, this is it, I'm getting out. It's over. The people who came out good were those who didn't sell and didn't get out and like stayed the true believers. But another one is FOMO, which is fear of missing out, and that's like a big one that I think a lot of new investors also uh, are like fall into. And again, those people who, the true believers who have held and abide by the life advice of the crypto communities, they don't fall to this fear of missing out. That's for the new people. That's for people who are weak. And the other one is FUD, which is like kind of the uh, crypto equivalent of like in Scientology. What's the term there in Scientology for people who are like questioning the teachings of the church?
Oh, here, I'll look it up. It's yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, hold on, let me look it up. Non-believer Scientology. I can edit this out if it takes me too long. Suppressive person.
Suppressive person. So that's like when you accuse someone of FUD, it's like you're a suppressive person. Get out of here. You're questioning the true teachings of the crypto community. And that's the really interesting one. So like anybody who like has any reticence or legitimate concerns about a project or like the market in general, or even just like do a little research, like slow down a little bit before everybody uh, thinks this is going to change the world. Uh, they're accused of spreading FUD, which is fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and they're like pushed away from the community.
Well, it really does have parallels to something like drug addiction, where like everybody is chasing that first high, and
Oh
the high being the time when like you put $100 in and you came back 3 days later and it was $500.
yeah,
A lot of people experience that, and they're all chasing it. And I was listening to a guy actually yesterday who was saying, everybody's afraid now to put these links to affiliate links now because they don't want to get in trouble somehow if it goes wrong. But this guy was saying, look, I don't need to put the affiliate link because if I put $100 in now, this thing is going to go to at least $10,000 in the next 6 months. And so people are they're stuck on these unrealistic expectations because they can't process that it's possibly this was a one-time event, the huge run up.
yeah, yeah.
Now maybe
And I think they think it's I was I fell victim to this too in the beginning when I put in a few $100 here and it skyrocketed, and I thought to myself, I am a genius. Like this is me who did this. Like I made that money go so much higher, 10 times. And then but you have to like take a step back and have like a little like self-awareness, and be like, no, like it could go to zero at any time. uh I didn't do this, I got lucky. um and it kind of is, it like it's not totally gambling, but it's not.
well, I mean, this is what I can say for people that have made money in crypto, and you can't take this away from them. And this is that they have pulled the trigger and put their own money at risk,
Hmm.
uh, and been rewarded for it. And there is a difference between somebody who talks about something and somebody who actually goes to their bank or whatever, or figures out how to get a Coinbase or a Gemini account and put that money into play. There is a difference between talking about and actually doing that and putting your money at risk. But because of people's limited experience, now they think that, well, if I put my money at risk, then I deserve to be rewarded, which isn't really actually what risk
Yeah,
is.
very
I
good
mean,
point. Yeah. I think that's what the why there's so many scams out there is because people think that in like the cryptocurrency world there is no risk, and that like it's totally normal for people to get 1% gains a day, uh, and not have any risk, or
well,
the risk be so small that um, it's like negligible.
well, I was talking to a guy. I was talking to another options trader today, and in the options world, it is possible to do trades, to find trades out there in the marketplace that will give you 1% per day.
Yeah,
But it's you know, you have to do the research yourself, and you have to find them, and they're not a situation where like 1,000 people could do the trade. It's like if you do
yeah,
the research and you find this call spread or this particular option and you do the trade, then there's probably room for like one or two people to do it, and then it's
mhm,
gone. It's not something where somebody has packaged something for you and said, okay, I'm going to take care of everything. All you got to do is press the button to transfer the
yeah,
money, and you're going to get this return. And it comes down to like you open yourself up to be exploited when you want something for nothing. I mean, it just
yeah. Mhm.
uh, but I thought it was funny what you were saying the other day about taxes and how people uh, are like saying, Uncle Sam needs to get off my back on the
Yeah,
taxes.
the thing that I found is people are so, or it's a very like libertarian, anti-government, anti-regulation space. But then when they get burned, they're like, why did this happen? Someone should have said something. This shouldn't be able to happen. And the only way to uh, prevent that is regulation, or like some somebody watching. Uh, and I was reading today about uh, Tether, which is another like coin that kind of seems like a problem. Um, it's tied 1 to 1 with a dollar, and they have a trading platform or an exchange, and it's a way to like they advertise it as like a way to minimize risk in the market, so you could trade rather than trading from like cryptocurrency to like one of the few uh, Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Litecoin to like get out of the market and put it into US dollars or euros. You can put it into Tether coin, which is supposed to be backed 1 to 1 by US dollars, euros, and I think pounds. But there's a lot of doubt whether or not it actually is backed by anything.
Right. It's like
Because
which one is it backed by? Right. Which one is it backed by, and who
yeah,
sets the exchange rates between them? You know.
yeah. So the other thing is, so they would release these Tether coins into the market to the tune of like millions a day. So by that logic, there was millions of dollars flowing into the accounts of this Tether company that was releasing the coins, and and there was no evidence of that. And because it was basically acting as a bank, holding people's money for this Tether coin, uh, but it's unregulated, but as a bank, and hasn't gone through an audit, hasn't gone through a stress test or anything like that. I don't know if they do loaning yet, but I think that's on their like roadmap. Um, so acting as a bank, but totally beyond uh, the jurisdiction of any regulators, which really makes me nervous, and I think a lot of other people too.
Well, I mean, we're so used to these days about it being relatively safe to like send money online,
Yeah.
like with credit cards and whatnot. But you really have to think about who you're sending money to and is it safe.
Yeah.
And even if you trust them a lot, like if you send money to say like Merrill Lynch or something that is, you know, an FDIC insured
Mm-hmm.
corporation, or there's different levels of protection you can get. And FDIC, I know at one point was, I'm not sure what it is now, it was only $100,000 they insured it. But you know, if you have a company that's like pretty reputable, like I said, like a Merrill Lynch or a TD Ameritrade or something, um, you can feel comfortable about sending money to it. But if you're sending money to a website like BitConnect, I mean, when I looked at some of this investigative reporting done online about BitConnect, you know, the guys who run it are all outside of the United States.
Yeah.
And because you're transferring Bitcoin into it, it has nothing to do with the US dollar. Now, we do know that the payout was going to be in dollars, but they could easily be beyond the jurisdiction of the United States. And so
Yeah.
if you
Mm-hmm.
send money to them, it's like sending money to a gambling site. If you send money out of the US jurisdiction, first of all, you could possibly be violating RICO guidelines,
Huh.
which is
Mm-hmm.
the RICO were set up to actually combat the mob, and were actually used initially by I think Giuliani to combat the mob. Um,
Oh.
but if you're sending money to a website, there's a chance that you're not going to be able to get it back, and you'll have no recourse.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you got to keep that in mind.
I think a lot of these, I think honestly, a lot of these people who lost everything on BitConnect are not, they're going to have no recourse. Even if they, like, individual lawsuits are kind of out of the question for a lot of these people because they put all their equity into um, BitConnect. Uh, and class action lawsuits, maybe. But again, if they're outside of the US, it's going to be extremely, extremely expensive.
Yeah. Um, and I saw something online and I saw a bunch of videos about it today and yesterday that I just kind of want to clear up because it is something that I think I can speak to sort of clear something up. And this is that um, Bitcoin has been listed on at least two American exchanges at this point. It's been listed on the CBOE and at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Okay. The CBOE contracts are, I believe it's $1,000 a contract, where the the CME ones are $5,000 in notional value. But the first like official month of them trading at the Mercantile Exchange
Mm-hmm.
ends tomorrow. So it's futures expiration for the month tomorrow.
Hmm.
Now there's
But
been
does that mean that everyone's future ends tomorrow, or everyone who bought a future, it closes tomorrow, or can you get out early of those futures?
well, generally what people do is there's futures for different months. So the front month ends tomorrow. There's also back months farther out. A lot of times, usually what happens in a futures market is there's one month that is the most liquid, and that is
Mm-hmm.
usually the front month future. And so generally what people do is they'll pay a small amount to what they call it rolling out the future to the next month when it's done with. Now, expirations happen once a month in the trading world, and there's interest. You know, there's people that are short futures. There's people that are long futures, but they're all matched up. And there's a lot of confusion online, just thinking that like, well, this is going to be some sort of event that's going to change everything, or that's going
Mm-hmm.
to affect the price to make it go up or down. And uh, this is the same kind of confusion people have with like reverse splits in stocks. Uh, a futures expiration in itself is not going to cause a directional move in Bitcoins.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a lot of suspicion about Wall Street to do with
Yeah.
Bitcoin, and the volume that's being traded in Bitcoin futures right now is very, very small. And
Really?
yeah, and the people worrying about Wall Street like manipulating the market, and everybody in Wall Street wants it to go lower, and they're going to manipulate the market. It's not there's not enough size being traded for them to
Mm,
manipulate anything. I
mm.
I, I would say that when you interview people on Wall Street and they say, "Oh, it's going to go lower," that's just an opinion on Bitcoin as being sort of a flash in the pan type thing. It's not because people are trying to manipulate. I know people are very
Yeah,
suspicious of government, and it's good to be
yeah,
suspicious of the government. I don't think that's a bad thing. But in this case,
yeah. I've heard that a lot. That it's like Wall Street is causing these problems in the market. Wall Street's, responsible for it, going this way. This one failing. This one succeeding. Um, hmm,
I mean, we could be wrong. We could look back in 6 months, and Bitcoin could be $100,000.
yeah.
But I like to think of things, try to dissect things as far as the psychology of the participants. So, for example, I saw a guy on who is he was a like an iPhone reviewer from YouTube, and he had taken a bunch of money and bought bitcoins with him. And he came on, he was saying, uh, "I haven't been posting for a while because I lost so much money in Bitcoin and
Oh wow.
Litecoin." And he said, "I just want to get back to just wait till it's lower and buy it, and then once it goes up a bit, sell some out." Now, of course, every person who's trading can't do that. It doesn't.
Yeah,
Markets don't. That sounds great. Of course.
yeah.
Why wouldn't you?
If some people are making money and like taking profits out, it's because like other people are losing money.
Yeah. I mean, when you buy something, whether it be a you know a future like a cattle future, or whether it be any sort of commodity, a stock, uh,
Hmm.
you're buying it, and you're making a determination that someone's going to come around at some point and want to pay you more for it than what you paid for it.
Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
the whole rub. And so when you buy Bitcoin, you're thinking that someone's going to come around and pay more for it. Now, um, we've seen Bitcoin go from like, I think it went up to like 400 and then came back down to like 100 or something in history.
Yeah.
It's made big percentage moves, but as far as dollar moves, it hasn't made moves like it has in the last 6 months ever. And
Hmm.
if you think of the psychology of somebody, if you buy something, even if you bought Bitcoins, even if you bought them for a buck way back when, at some point you're going to want to get some cash out of it.
Yeah.
If you bought 100 of them for a buck way back when, they don't do you any good until you sell something. I mean,
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
and I don't think anybody could resist it, buying something for a buck and not selling it when it gets to 400 or 20,000. I don't
Yeah.
I and when you see it go sideways for so long, especially
The
when these
luckiest guy is 50 Cent there. Did you hear about him? He found out that he had like $8 million worth of Bitcoin that he totally forgot about. Those who like bought and forgot
yeah,
are in the best position.
yeah, I saw one of these, like, he was one of those Ty Lopez buddies who's like a real estate guy who teaches you how to sell
Uh,
real estate. And he had done I guess he gets paid like $50,000 to do a speech. So these guys
wow.
had approached him and said, "We'll give you $50,000 worth of Bitcoins to do a speech." And I think they were worth like 300 bucks at the time or something like that. And so he ended up making millions of dollars off it too. And
Wow. Mm,
but we have a lot of friends, our friends, I have to assume that the experience of the people I know with Bitcoin may be similar to a lot of other people's experience.
yeah.
And what that was that we had friends who put a significant percentage of their savings into buying Bitcoin at some point. So when it
Mhm.
was $3,000, and our buddies who are professional waiters each bought one for $3,000, that's a significant amount of money to them. Now,
Yeah.
it may be that they could live without it, and it may be that uh, that they're not forced to go touch it, but they're not going to forget about it. And
Yeah.
as that money jumps from $3,000 to say $15,000, all of a sudden it's a much bigger percent of their net worth. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you see that multiplied over a lot of people, the end result is people are going to want to get their money out. Those people who have made all this money in Bitcoin are going to want to get it out somehow. And to
Yeah.
get it out at higher prices than they are today, I mean, where's Bitcoin
Yeah.
today? 12,000. Let's see. I think it's like 12,000. Did you say?
Yeah, maybe 10 or 11.
All right, I'm going to get the exact number here. Bitcoin, $11,263. It's been hanging. All right, so it got up to 19,000. Now it's at 11,000. So for it to go higher, you need somebody to step up and say, I want to pay 12,000. I want to pay 13,000.
Yeah.
I want to pay 19,000. I want to pay 20,000. And it seems to
Mm-hmm.
me it's much less likely that there's new people. You know, there's a certain type of person who is adventurous enough to go and try this. You know,
Yeah.
it's kind of like
Yeah.
the speculator money. You know, and those people, it seems like, would have been somewhat used up at this point. You know, like
Yeah. To my knowledge, there's not a lot of like hedge funds that trade in cryptocurrency. There's not a lot of like institutional money in it yet.
well, there's been a
Uh,
lot of articles by very smart people. There's been arguments on both sides of owning Bitcoin, but there have been a number of articles by very smart people saying like this is a scam, it's not going to go anywhere,
yeah.
don't do it, and I think it would take a lot for it to turn around, go above $20,000, and
Yeah.
then keep moving higher. I think a
Yeah.
lot of it, you got to think of the psychology of what would a person do if they owned it right now. Like if you yourself own 5 Bitcoin right now, okay, if it goes to $20,000, you're probably going to go, oh wow, I got another chance to get out at 20 grand. Great,
Yeah.
let me sell half of them here.
Yeah.
You know, woo, I was lucky. I held out. You know, I waited around 6 months until it got back to 20 grand. Let's get out. And so
Yeah.
these different like feelings people have in their head that makes up the psychology of the marketplace. That's where like technical analysis comes from in the end. That's what
Mhm.
makes resistance at $20,000 because so many
Mhm.
people. First of all, that's the highest anyone's paid for it up till now. And
Mhm.
it's also where people are going to say, wow, it's the highest it's ever been. I want to get out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't
It's
know.
the best point for taking profits.
So what do you know about what separates different bitcoins or different cryptocurrencies from each other? You were telling me about IOTA the other day and Ripple.
Yeah. So a lot of them are based on, so Bitcoin is a blockchain that has like other kind of some other coins that are based on it. Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin is like the same thing except some changes. And then Ethereum is a platform for making uh, other coins. So a lot of like the other cryptocurrencies are uh, like based on the Ethereum blockchain until they can make their own blockchain. IOTA is a little bit different. They use their own kind of like ledger system that's not blockchain. They call it the Tangle, and there's still some issues like to get ironed out with it. They don't fully have the product 100% complete, but it's slightly different than blockchain. It's supposed to offer new uh, like new features and new security measures mostly, and like it's supposed to be a little bit faster. Like one of the issues with the Bitcoin and Ethereum networks is that it can, if there's a lot of people trading on the blockchain and making transactions, it can take like an hour, 2 hours, and like the fees can be pretty high, like $10 to trade like $200 worth of some cryptocurrency.
So you can't really use it for microtransactions like paying a blogger or something. You can't pay him a
Yeah,
buck because it's going to cost you $10 to pay him a buck. So
yeah, and it's gonna take like the uh, one of the appeals of uh, cryptocurrency is this like really fast transactions. and until recently, it was possible, but with more people making transactions on it, wasn't able to keep up with the transaction. Uh, the companies that manage um, Ethereum and Litecoin, the different cryptocurrencies, they're planning on adding features to handle like scale, but there's still issues right now, and whether or not they can handle the scale is still kind of up in the air for a lot of them. But IOTA was the first. That was the first like cryptocurrency outside of Ethereum and Bitcoin that I bought. And for a little while, I was like true believer. I saw like this is the future, um, and I still like kind of believe it in their. I don't know if the IOTA token will be used. I can't necessarily see a purpose for the IOTA token versus regular money. But their idea of the machine to machine payments, I really think that is a very there's a lot of evidence that that's going to be what the world's like. But I don't know if the IOTA token has any use
So
other
when
than
so when you say token, uh, so okay, so if I was going to use IOTA, I would go to their website, I would deposit dollars, and I could do a transaction, and they would take care of the transaction in dollars. Or if they had a token, I could convert my dollars into tokens and then do the transaction with those. Is that it?
exactly, yeah. But the IOTA is not like it's not designed for like peer to peer or person to person transactions. It's designed for these like very micro transactions between machines. So if you like an example I can think of, let's say you were charging your car and you plug your car into a like a public port, and your car would be like preloaded with IOTA tokens, and then it would transfer these IOTA tokens based on how much energy it was taking from this port, and it wouldn't, but it wouldn't use like a credit card or dollars like we use now. It would be this machine paying another machine in like its own separate ecosystem, I guess.
So kind of like you could use it maybe for like toll booths or something like that.
Yeah, their idea is like the Internet of Things is going to be much bigger in the future. Like your heat, your thermostat's going to be connected to your fridge, and your fridge is going to be connected to the internet. Your toilet's going to be connected to the internet, and like every little thing that it does that like on the Internet of Things, this thing in your house, like when your toaster, your stove, like all that will be connected to the internet. And when it uses the internet for a function, uh, it will be paid with a IOTA token,
So you think
which I
that
think
so they're going to start charging you to use the internet, you think? So
kind
is
of,
this
yeah, or
related to like net neutrality? Is this related to like that?
no, but I like the thing that I can see is that if a company can charge you as a service for a appliance that you have, they will totally do that. So like if you can like right now you buy a fridge and you pay for it once, and if it's connected to the internet, it's connected to the internet. You can get like the weather on there, you can watch YouTube, whatever. But if the fridge company can make that fridge like at least partially part of its functionality is a service, that's like
That makes sense. Like, yeah,
yes, yeah,
now it's like now it's like they're hooked up to the internet, and then the company's role goes away. It's like
yeah,
they cut the cord. But if
yeah,
they could figure out a way to, it's a similar concept to like service contracts for like I don't know a plow or something like that, where
yeah,
like where they sign you up for service contracts, or like I guess a good example might be like a fancy copy machine that needs servicing.
yeah. I was thinking like Microsoft Office now, where you pay for a um, registration, like rather than or you pay for like it by the year rather than buying the software outright and owning it.
Or Adobe to makes you do that, like Adobe
Yeah,
Suites. It's like $20 or $40 a month. Well,
yeah.
what about Ripple? I've heard that Ripple is like specialized for use by banks or something like that.
I
Is
don't know a lot about Ripple, but like it has a lot of um, partnerships with international banks, and I think it's supposed to be like bank to bank payments. Again, I'm not sure why a coin or token would need to be developed to be like the middle to run as a middleman between uh, cash payments. Um, I guess if like it might speed up the transaction time, and it might remove like the some of the security measures to make sure that the transaction is legit. But I don't know.
what's
I don't know
it's
enough about it.
it seems like they're I mean it seems like everyone's issuing tokens just because they're have the hopes that like this worthless piece of electronic stuff will become valuable like Bitcoin has, you know,
Yeah,
and that's why they're
yeah,
doing it.
yeah,
Um, Somebody made the great point that nowadays, before Bitcoin came around, all most of our banking transactions are electronic as it is. I mean, we pay our rent. We don't go and bring a cow to
yeah,
the landlord or bring him a bag of cash. We press buttons on the screen, and so it's just interesting to me that like people say, oh well, Bitcoin's worth so much because this is a revolution to have blockchain technology. Well, nobody got excited before when like they were able to pay their rent over the computer. They weren't
yeah,
like these like YouTuber like rebel guys weren't like sneaking, like creeping around, like trying to keep it under wraps when that happened.
yeah,
So it's
yeah. And like with Apple Pay, I can send people money uh, immediately over text that they can use in most stores.
yeah. I mean, PayPal has an awful reputation because they were notorious for a long time for like if you opened a fraud complaint against somebody, they just lock a person up for months. You couldn't get your money in,
Yeah,
you couldn't get it out. It was the only way you could pay for like eBay. And
yeah, hmm
even now, like I think I was telling you this the other day, if you don't like establish yourself as like a premier like eBay seller, you've got to wait. Like they hold your cash hostage for a few days, and they're just doing it to collect interest. And so it is attractive to have that when people say, okay, well, blockchains are we're getting around these gatekeepers, these big companies that are have been holding technology hostage for so long.
yeah,
That is attractive, but it doesn't they've mixed it in with this thing, this get rich quick thing of like you're going to buy it and it's going to go up in value. It wouldn't be
yeah,
People wouldn't be talking about how attractive blockchain technology was if it didn't have that kicker of, oh yeah, and by the way, if you invest $100,
yeah.
it
You'll
might be
get
10,000.
rich. Yeah, you'll get rich in 6 months.
But people still seem to believe that now.
Yeah. I
And
think the whole like there's tons of new companies that are offering ICOs now, and that really makes me nervous because I would say I think a lot of them are scams. Like I've looked into a few of them, and I think a lot of them are as an investor you can make a lot of money. A lot of these are going from you know not that much, and seeing like in November and December there were a few that went up like 4,000%, went from like $1 to like $100 in a couple weeks. Um, and so like someone who's investing in it sounds like good for them, but the the service that they're offering, uh, and like the business behind the coin, um, is like it doesn't look like a real business to me. Like you see a few of these, um, and even like established coins that are uh, have a following and are worth a fair amount of money. They have like small development teams. They're basically startups, but like they're startups that aren't beholden to anybody. they don't have like a credit. They don't have creditors that they have to, perform for. They don't have shareholders that they have to perform for. They did this initial coin offering. People threw money at them, tens of millions of dollars, a lot of them, and you know, they don't really have anyone to answer to.
Well, it sounds a whole
It,
lot like the dot coins, doesn't it? Back
yeah, yeah,
in the late '90s, when people would throw money at anything that said blockchain, or that people are throwing money at anything that says blockchain. And I think it's also it means something that like ICOs are not. You're not allowed to do ICOs in the United States. Is that true? Is it
yeah.
like nowhere?
I think um I don't know. I know that there's heavy regulations. I think maybe not anymore. You're not allowed to sell an ICO in the U.S.
I
But
mean,
people, Americans, join ICOs. I know that.
there's a certainly it seems like it's a good sell for people when you price a coin at like 1/100th of a cent or somewhere
Yeah,
around that level, because then people, it seems like it's easier to get people to put $100 into something that like you're almost saying like this is probably worthless, but on a shot put $100 in, and
yeah,
then they get all these people to put $100 in, and then
hmm,
they slowly raise the price up. And so, as long as you can get more people to buy it after that, then I mean, I watched
yeah,
Ripple, and as skeptical as I am about this, I kind of kick myself that I didn't do it, because
yeah,
I watched
yeah,
Ripple. Ripple was like 10 cents and 25, and right. I remember you telling me about IOTA. We were sitting upstairs in like the Lauren's closet. Of course, that means
yeah,
nothing. That means nothing to anyone but about 5 people in the world. But we were sitting up there, and you're talking about IOTA, and Ripple was trading like 25 cents or something then,
yeah,
and it ripped to what did it get to, like $3 or $4 at one point.
yeah. It
So
went up like very fast too.
yeah, it went from like 25 to 75 cents in one day or something like that.
Yeah,
And if you had put $1,000 in that, you would have $3,000 now,
yeah,
and you could have gotten in now. Now, my experience with the whole thing was that I didn't do it well. I tried to start doing blockchain mining way back when Bitcoin was $1, and I tried to set it up on my
yeah,
computer. I couldn't figure it out. So then, but then my friends tried to convince me when Bitcoin was $3,000, I wouldn't do it. Then right before Christmas, right around Christmas time, two of my subscribers gave me each. One of them gave me a Litecoin, and it was
hmm,
right when Litecoin was about $150. And then another one gave me a Litecoin, and like the day after, it went to $300, so it doubled. So, and it hit. I think that it hit the all-time highs about 3 days later, which was about $400 for Litecoin. And I was like amazed, and I thought this was great, but my inclination was to immediately sell it because I don't understand what
yeah,
it is, and I know how hard it is for me to make $100. Like if I'm in like the non-trading world, it's like a day's work. And
yeah,
so somebody gives me something and says, "Oh, well, this could change value at any time, but if you can trade it for $100 right now, and I don't know what it is," and I'm like, okay, I'll take the $100, and
yeah,
I sold them. But I think it took a certain type of person to buy a bunch of these things when it
yeah,
was really low and hold on to them. I mean, there are some rich people who take a shot on a whole bunch of things, and maybe if you took a shot on 1,000 different things, this one came through.
yeah.
But I don't know. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think that. Well, I think a lot of people are now looking for that. To be the first. And like I've looked at some like new coins and researched them and found some like very good businesses and thinking that like this could be it. Like this could be the new Bitcoin and this could be this could go to $10,000 maybe like and threw some money at it, like not much but like threw a little money at it, and like $10 could be worth 1,000 at some point. But like a lot of them, I think a lot of people are doing that, but a lot of these companies that are offering coins now, the bottom's going to fall out of them at some point. Like they're
Yeah,
all startups.
yeah,
And
I think that I think you're right, and I think that we're everybody's going to be chasing the high that this fall. It was like this fall. It was like when we had our big group in at work. It was like that
yeah,
time period around like November, December, October. That was like the biggest like event for all these things when they all just exploded. Now,
yeah,
obviously, you can say, well, percentage wise, Bitcoin has made bigger percent moves up and down before, but this was when it was really publicized and in the news. And actual people I knew bought Bitcoins and it went from like 3,000 to 15,000.
mhm,
And I feel like everybody's going to be chasing that high from now on, that one little
yeah,
period of time.
yeah.
And there was a period of time, and if you recognized it, you weren't too late to put money in because a month later you could have put money in Ripple and it still hadn't gone up yet, and you could still put it in. But you know, it feels like that time has passed us by. Time will tell. We will
I
be able
think,
to.
well, I don't know if I think it will continue to go up, but I think that at some point, unless there's a purpose for Bitcoin other than like a quote unquote store of value, um, which like unless there's another purpose for it other than that, it's going to go down eventually. People are going to lose faith in it or even get bored with it. And I think that some of the other coins and like the companies behind them can be very successful, but the vast majority, I just like I looked at some of these small coins and heard the people um, talking them up, and they say like it's a great development team. The people that they've hired are really experienced. They're they're like their roadmap is really good. Their plan for the year is really good. But like you look at it, and especially the business to business ones, like there's no sales staff, like there's no outside sales, there's no inside sales, there's no human resources department, like there's like 5 developers.
Right,
There's
they cobbled it together as quickly as they could to try to get it into the marketplace.
Yes, exactly. There's no support staff for the product. There's no like like long-term research and development arm. There's like so like with especially with business software, I know that like and when you're selling to or marketing to like institutions and businesses, you have like you're very like staff heavy, and you have like a big sales department, you have a big support department.
Yeah, it's all about
Um,
sales. Yeah.
yes, yeah, uh, and and like you have like developers on staff. They might be outsourced, but you have like a lot of developers, and the support staff might be outsourced too. But like you have a lot of people on staff, and these startups that are saying that they're going to change the business world um, and have taken in like $20 million on an ICO. Uh, they just don't have the resources to actually come through on their promises.
Well, I think what you say, although it's simple, is actually really profound when you say that people are going to get bored.
Yeah,
It's like people who the average person who bought Bitcoin in the last 6 months is not a long-term investor. There's somebody who heard about it from their buddies and heard they can
mhm.
make a quick buck. And when that doesn't happen, they're and see I'm although I've been wrong the whole time here,
Yeah,
I still feel the same way that
yeah,
it will never reach the highs it already has, and it's going to
yeah,
go down from here, and I'm a seller of it. And like I said, I hesitate to say that because maybe I'll lose subscribers or whatever, but I don't, the truth for my truth is still that its heyday has happened. It was very exciting for a minute. It's amazing that two people in my restaurant job both made tripled their money in an investment in a short period, a couple weeks, and it's very cool that you made some money on investment in just a couple weeks. But I don't see the enthusiasm of like 3 out of 20 people in our job
yeah.
getting this buying something and then having it make that huge move is going to happen again. I don't see
Yeah.
even those guys saying, it would take those guys who we know that spend 3,000 on Bitcoin. It would take them going in again and saying like, look, I'm going to take 3,000 more dollars and put it in Bitcoin because it's going higher. It would take that for it to go higher, and I just don't see that
Yeah.
happening. I don't see those guys doubling up here.
Hmm.
So, um,
I
and
see. I see it having like a few more years of like good times and like a market that goes up, but like at some point, like Bitcoin's got to have a purpose, and Bitcoin kind of drives the market now. If Bitcoin's going up, everything else is going up. So unless there's like something else that drives the market, um, then maybe it either stabilizes or keeps going up. But I long term, I don't know a purpose for a lot of blockchain and tokens on the blockchain.
I mean, yeah, I've heard a lot of people say they've compared Bitcoin to a search, like a browser or something like that, and
Yeah.
they've said like, okay, well the first browser doesn't exist anymore. You know, one of the first ones was Alta Vista, which nobody knows about, but one of the
Yeah.
famous first ones was Internet Explorer, which is basically gone now, and everyone thinks it's bad and blah blah
Mhm.
blah. So people are extending that analogy to say, okay, well, some other one is going to become more popular than Bitcoin at some point, probably because it's more efficiently uh, running its transactions. Like, for example, Litecoin is thought of to be more efficient at running a transaction. It doesn't cost as much and it goes faster. And that one
Mhm.
will supplant Bitcoin and then be the major dominant player. And so the key is to figure out which one that will be. But that logic still doesn't extend to like the price of it, I don't think. I think that the
Yeah.
value is in the blockchain technology, not in the token.
Mhm. Yeah. A lot of these businesses that have the coins too, I think a lot of them will be successful because they're the ideas behind, especially some of the business ones, business oriented ones, and institutional oriented ones. Um, I think that the technology is really interesting, and the ideas are really good. But if they had just started a normal company, um, it's like the supply chain ones that I've looked into are very very interesting. But if they had just started a normal company, um, I think they'd be better off.
Well,
Like
hopefully,
I'd be more apt to if they offered shares, if they did an IPO of this company, I would and I like had done research on it and everything. Um, I would rather be a shareholder than a coin holder.
well, in a sense, I mean, this has brought a whole new group of people to the world of trading and investing, as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned. I mean, I don't believe some people say, okay, well, all the guys that were buying gold are now buying Bitcoin. I think no, it's a different group of people. At least you see it
Yeah.
on YouTube. It's a different group of people that weren't involved in the market before. But you got to think that for every success story of guys that have made huge money, there's people who have either made nothing, made a teeny bit of money, or gotten their asses handed to them,
Yeah.
that are out
Yeah.
there. And that's always going to be the case, I guess, in the world.
Yeah.
But anyways, I appreciate you coming on, and we should do an
Yeah.
up.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Let's do an update in like 3 months, and we can see the state of the union Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, because
Yeah.
I'll be
I
interested to
agree.
see what happened. It's going to be interesting to see what happened to some of these stars that were made online from this stuff
Yeah.
too, if they get
We'll see,
sued
we'll
or
see if I come on wearing a Rolex and uh have gotten rich from crypto
yeah,
and have totally changed my tune. I'm a true believer.
you'll be crypto, right? You'll be crypto C, and you'll be
Yeah.
rolling in a Bentley and stuff like that. That's hilarious. Okay, well, listen. Thanks, Connor, for doing this, and yeah, we'll see. Like I said, I missed out sort of. I ended up making $800, I think, because someone gave
Yeah.
me the coin. So
Good for you.
I'm happy
Yeah.
enough with that, I
Yeah.
guess. So
Awesome.
um, But you still own any of these?
I do, yeah. No,
Okay.
I've made like I think my initial investment was about $600, and like since then I've maybe tripled it.
Oh, great. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's been good, but I still am like very reticent about like it's like the it's got its caveats
Well, it's good to be
because
skeptical.
yeah,
I
I've,
appreciate.
I've lost well, like when from my all time high, I thought I would try to day trade or swing trade or whatever, and lost money immediately. So there's like if I just kept what I had originally, I would be in about the same place I am now than like aggressively trading it. But
It's tough out there, man. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
trading isn't easy for the pros, and
yeah,
I think if we come out ahead in the end, then which you have, you triple your money, so that's great. And I don't know. We'll see what happens moving forward. It's definitely a controversial subject. I'm not a true believer, so they'll forgive me for maybe doubting it. But I, I find all these guys hilarious, and yeah,
yeah. We'll
I
just
think
hope that you know the the multitude of scammers out there are exposed and people stop believing in them so much.
yeah, there's definitely some snake oil salesmen out there
Mhm.
all over the place, and I think
There's
some.
guaranteed money in cryptocurrency, but it's in scamming people.
I'm kind of bummed that I reached out to Trayvon James like about 3 months ago, and of course he didn't
Ah,
respond. Of course he didn't respond to me because he has like I don't know. I think he has 150,000 subscribers, and I'm sure
mm,
those guys are inundated with people. But I also tried to reach out to this guy. I think his name was like Diamond Dash or something like that. A different guy, but I haven't managed to land any of those big fish, but I appreciate you actually just explaining a little bit more to me. And yeah, let's see what happens in a couple months, and
yeah,
hopefully, you make money on these things.
yeah. It's good entertainment anyway.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I have to publicly thank Ron Turkey and Innoware for contributing cryptocurrencies to the channel. So thank you guys, and thanks Connor for coming on, and I will see you soon.
Yeah, thanks.
All
Thanks
right,
for having me.
all right.
I listen to that one a lot, but like at the end they do this thing. Like the host does this thing called keepers, and he asks and it's like things that uh, people have read or seen or uh, heard or tried, like food that they've tried that they want to remember. And it's really like that's like my favorite part of the podcast because you learn like these new things. Is I think you should implement that like with your guests. Ask them like what their keeper is.
I don't get it.
Um,
So
so like he asked them something that they want to remember, something recent that happened to them. So like if like somebody read a book and they were like, I want to remember like this book because it was, I learned a lot about it. Or if they like one guy, they asked him what his keeper was, and he was like, oh, I found a new pants company that I like. It's like an online only pants company, and like it's free shipping either way. So they send you it. If you don't like the pants, like you send them back. And so he's happy not having to shop for pants anymore.
is this like
And
what you were talking about the guy who is like, oh, I'm into like Japanese whiskeys or something
exactly, yeah, yeah.
like
So like, a lot of times it's like kind of pretentious stuff, but his keeper was like Japanese whiskey and Japanese surf rock.
People try to
Um,
like out they try to like out snooty each other and like out
yes,
like I'm more like
yeah,
esoterically cool than you are or
yeah,
whatever. People have too much
yeah,
time in your hands. So
yeah.
did you have a keeper in mind for the for what we were talking about right now?
Oh
Are
no,
you
I
into
don't know. But I think you should do something like that because I like that's my favorite part of that podcast is
Oh, that's
hearing their
cool. Yeah, I
yeah.
kind of liked. I started doing this thing where like I listed choices and they had to choose one or the other. It was like uh, Android or Android or iOS, and they'd have to
Yeah.
say cats or dogs, or like try to find something new about the people that nobody else would ask. And
Yeah.
I was able to find online like some different questions for interviews, and some people are willing to do that, but other people are they really want to like frame who they are, and they won't like they won't break out of their like persona with you, which is
Yeah. Huh.
if you can.
Huh. I
I,
think that's one of the good things that Joe Rogan does is that he gets people to break out of their
Yeah,
persona.
well, Howard does that too, and the way Howard Stern's able to do it is by doing a ton of research. So
Yeah.
he will learn stuff about somebody, and by demonstrating to the person that he's done a ton of research on them and really cares about the interview,
Yeah.
that allows him to kind of break through a lot of times. It seems like so.
Yeah.
I have to do this interview with this corporate guy, CEO guy, and I've been back and forth with them for a while, and I had to like send him some sample questions, and I just put so much effort into this thing, and I'm just hoping it's going to happen because it's like it's not worth it. I'm like a free channel,
Yeah.
and like how much time do I actually want to spend on one person? And obviously the guy thinks he's really important and all this stuff,
Yeah.
and it's like, dude, either do the interview or I'm just gonna start trashing you. How about that? You know what I mean? It's like, come
Yeah.
on, come on. People take themselves too seriously in life. It's
Yeah.
funny. And I understand that you cultivate an image through the media and you don't want one YouTuber to like trash it. But
Yeah.
but at the same time, I don't think, all publicity is good publicity. My grandfather was a politician, taught me that. And
Yeah.
anytime you come online, it's good for you because it helps
Yeah.
people recognize your name and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
anyways, thanks for doing this. Hopefully, like you'll come on again if you enjoy yourself sometime. And
Yeah.
I wanna have more of my
Yeah.
friends
I
come
think we
on
should put up there.
so people don't even think about it and they're like, oh yeah, that's Connor. He's one of the guys that's on there sometimes or whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. All
Cool.
right. Thanks, man. I'll see you soon.
All right. See you, Dave.
All right. Cool.